Okay, I'm sorry. You guys should be able to hear me. Let me know if you guys can hear me, if you can see me, if there are any issues. Um, I so I have that 30-second timer for my intro. I had put together a protein shake, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's weird if I drink it while I'm talking. So I decided to chug it during those 30 seconds. But also, I got concerned because I have a little bit of a mustache now, and I didn't want it to be on my face when we went live. So I'm now explaining why I'm starting things awkwardly, even though I tend to find a way to start things awkwardly almost every single time. But anyways, everyone, welcome. This is Andre's Restart. This is I don't know if I even can call this a podcast because it's me and just me, but it's also you guys. So we're just gonna be chatting, talking about Nintendo and the going ons and Switch 2 and whatever you guys want to talk about in the chat. You send me a question, I will talk about it, and that's pretty much the plan. I have a little bit of, it's just a little. It's not that weird, or is it? Okay, we're good. That's done. I don't have to worry about it anymore. But yeah, we're just talking about Nintendo and just different things that are going on. I believe we are getting previews for Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door later this week. That's what's believed, apparently. Which, am I mistaken? Let me double check that, because Tom Henderson is the person who put out the dates for that, and I just want to make sure I have the dates right for that. I'm looking here just to make sure, because that'll be cool. We'll get some yeah. So apparently, yeah, on April 25th, which makes sense, that would be this Thursday. So later this week, we should be getting news on Thousand-Year Door, which will be nice. We'll be hearing about people's thoughts that have had access to the game, so that'll be pretty good. Now, me here looking at the chat, Joycey J, thank you for modding. I will keep the mustache and beard for now. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, that's just what I'm doing. Gerald Toki, Andre's Restart show titled this episode "The Gun Show." I don't have that much to show off, buddy. I'm skinny. That's why I gotta drink these protein drinks and go to the gym. But I'm working on it. I am working on it. Bradley Taylor, yes, you can ask me any question you'd like. Now, if it's a really, really weird question, I might answer it still, but it kind of depends. If you're asking the question with good intent or funny intent, I'll probably answer it, or I'll try to answer it. So, go for it. Santox Games, hello. Wade Duel, hello there. I will keep the stash. Wiley Tiger, hello. Luigi, sup? I send you my 5s. AB James is asking, is Paper Mario 1000 number 1 on Amazon pre-orders? I don't know. Is it? Amazon pre-orders. I don't really look at this stuff. If we look under video games, maybe. Amazon pre-order video games. There's probably a list somewhere, but I'm not sure. But it should be. I mean, I'd imagine it's a pretty big deal game. So, Joyce today with the weird question. Let's go. Would you ever grow your hair out like shoulder length? I've done it before. My hair used to be a lot longer. In 2020, I had my hair length was like here. Let me see if I'm trying to sort out how I could show you a picture, because I definitely have a picture on my phone. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna check my phone real quick. I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna show you a picture of me from the pandemic time, because it was pretty bad. Let's see, that would be 2020, right? And I'm gonna send it to Brandon on Twitter. He's gonna be like, "What the hell, bro? Why are you sending a picture of your face?" And I'll be like, "I can explain." And then I'll be like, check the live stream. It was pretty long. I mean, I've had, if you check my Instagram, I have a couple pictures there from like 2018 where it was kind of long when it was wet, but in 2020 it was definitely past my shoulders. Especially because I have curly hair. I'm trying to find it. I'm going month by month here. Oh, bro, that's pretty long. Let me see. I'm trying to find like the longest it's been though, because that was definitely like already in 2018, 2019, I was sporting long hair, but it got really long during the pandemic. I don't know. I want to spend too much time finding this. I found several pictures already where my hair is long, but I'm trying to find like the picture where I was like, yeah, this is the longest my hair has ever been in my life. Oh, it's a really awkward looking picture. All right. Okay. All right. This picture, I don't like this picture. I think it looks stupid, but I will share you guys. So first, let me awkwardly send this picture to Brandon on Twitter. He's gonna be like, "What the hell?" All right. Copy. Interesting. Okay. It's for the stream, bro. Brandon's working tonight, for those who are wondering why he's not here. Yeah, it's not. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, but then I have to go back like years. That's going to be too. Oh, wait, this is what I do. I edit it. If I edit it and do nothing. Okay, now it's like weird lighting. Damn it. You know what? Hold on. There we go. I could have just done that. So I don't know why I was gonna like. I literally can just do this. Yeah. So you can see my hair is curly, right? And it's down here. So if you were to iron it, it would be like maybe there or something. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Now you know. Now you know how long my hair has ever been. I think the thing is like I'm too skinny to like really like appropriately like rock long hair like that. Although if I keep drinking the protein drinks and going to the gym, maybe I'll go back to it. Sky Sword List, I see you enjoy the title. Yeah, vroom vroom. Let's talk about Nintendo Switch 2 tonight. AB James, May 7th camp comes soon enough, plus Endless Ocean Luminous on May 2nd. A lot to look forward to in the coming weeks. Yeah, the investors meeting's coming up. Hopefully we get something, you know? Hopefully we get something soon. That will be pretty exciting. Vera and Verby, I will make sure to say hello to Ruby for you. I will do that, and perhaps you'll show up during the stream. We'll see. By the way, I see that Alyssa, Having Hope, Joyce, you're all letting me know everything looks and sounds good. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hello there, Sam. I hope you're doing well, buddy. All right. So, hello there, Nature Boy. Wade Duel asks, have you thought about doing boxing or martial arts for fun and health? So I have thought about doing boxing before. I don't think I will. I think that I don't want to mess up my face too much, but I'd actually technically I used to do a martial art. Well, twice actually. I mean, when I was a little kid, I took some karate classes, but not for a long enough time. Long enough where I got a belt, but I stopped. Like it was just like, you know, like a white belt. Like it was only for a few weeks, I think, if even that. And beyond that, I did do wrestling for a couple of years in middle school and the early part of high school. So that's, I mean, I learned Greco-Roman and I learned, I was gonna call it folklore, but folk style is what it's called. So there's two different styles of wrestling. Technically, there's freestyle, which is like a merger. At least that's how they referred to it then. But yeah, that's it. Gerald Toki asks me, Question: if you were given control of Nintendo, what would be your first 3 moves? My first 3 moves if I was given control of Nintendo. Oh, dude. I'm not sure. I got to think about that for a second here. Let me think about this for a moment. So, I think right now I'm trying to decide, is there anything that Nintendo is doing that I'm not okay with, that I think they should address? Because if I'm in control of Nintendo, I have to think about, I can't just think about it from the perspective of a fan. I have to think about it from the perspective of the betterment and health of the longevity of the company, right? So, is there something that could be done that I think would be better for them overall? Okay, I got one that I would change. I think that Nintendo is good about relaying information about their upcoming projects, but I don't think they're great. Like, I think the Nintendo Direct stuff is definitely like the best in the industry as far as I'm aware, but we have periods like now where there's a little bit of a drought. And you may ask yourself, yeah, well, how much does that really matter? In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it matters a significant amount, but I do think that you look at what Sony does, right, where they'll give us like CGI trailers like years in advance. And I don't think that's necessarily the best course of action either, but I do think there needs to be a little bit of a middle ground. So for example, I think in the case of Metroid Prime 4, you could argue that maybe not saying anything at all this time is like a good thing, but I think they should have given us something like a concept art or something to give us something to chew on, which they haven't done. A little bit more of them being vocal on the going-ons. And that's really all I'm at. Like, I think would make sense, because then you have people who are dropping pre-orders for Metroid Prime 4 because they haven't talked about it for such a long time. It's been a long enough time that many people have grown to either have forgotten about it or now doubt its existence. So I think, on some level that is important. I'm not saying it would change everything, but I just think that they should do a better job of being a little bit more vocal of what's going on. Still be ultimately secretive. I think being secretive is important to who they are, but that is a change that I think I would push a little bit. Like, basically, if it's been a long time since a project hasn't been spoken of, tell us something. Don't wait 3-4 years without saying anything. Radio silence, I don't think, is best. Usually. Sometimes, like, there's like this boiling point, like people are like, oh man. Like, you kind of have to be strategic about it. But yeah, I just think there needs to be a little bit of a better balance. But that's just one change. 2 more changes. This is why this is a tough question, because, man, like, all right, what else? I mean, okay, this is me being a fan, but I also think it would benefit them. I do think that Nintendo should, they should do a better job with their online service. I think they need to figure out a way to handle the voice chat. Like, voice chat should be something that's the norm. That there should be better online features here. They're extremely protective, through their online service and the parental controls and things of that nature. And Nintendo is always like, oh, we shouldn't put too much access on there because that can impact kids. Fact of the matter is, though, a lot of kids have a PlayStation or an Xbox or a PC. So whatever can be done on those systems, that's a lot of kids have those systems already. So this notion that, like, with Nintendo, it has to be extra safe and careful because they're targeting everyone, which includes a younger audience. Like, yeah, I would agree that maybe Nintendo has a better, probably appeals to more of a younger audience than the other platforms, but the younger audience still is on those platforms, and it's fine to have voice chat across those platforms. So I think that they should have it. Not to mention, Nintendo already has parental controls. So, like, it's not, as far as I'm concerned, it's not on them. There are parental controls. Have parental controls, make sure people are aware of it, and it's not your fault. It just straight up isn't. man, I don't want to get dark here, right? But it's kind of like, should, Samsung or Apple be held responsible for the interactions that happen between people through text message? No, right? So why should Nintendo be responsible for the interactions that people have through their servers? I don't really see how it's any different. So I would say that I'm not saying that they shouldn't be safe, but I'm just saying that they should open things up a little bit, just advertise parental controls a little bit more. And yeah, communication features need to be more of a standard like it is everywhere else. I think that should be changed. Another thing, and this one is, I would argue, divisive, and I'm not even sure myself, but it is, and maybe I'm kind of cheating here because I'm not even certain on if I would change this or not, but it is something that I would want to change. I'm just not sure if it's the right idea yet. But you look at the news we got today, if you guys haven't heard, remember, if you guys have been following the channel for a while, do you remember how I used to talk about, hey, it's like, hey, there's like this big marketing plan for Metroid. This is around the release of Metroid Dread. And in the lead up to, and Prime Remastered, like it was all kind of part of it. But there was another thing that didn't happen that we kept talking about maybe happening. And that was Samus being in Fortnite. We kept talking about it. There was evidence for it. And as it turned out, we got word today. I saw it today that Nintendo and Epic were in talks of having Samus in Fortnite, but they came at an impasse because Nintendo was like, "Yeah, we'd love that, but only if it's only exclusive to Switch or Nintendo platforms. That would just be Switch." And so that's why the deal fell through. Because, for example, you can play as, I believe, Kratos and Master Chief. So Kratos God of War, Master Chief Halo, PlayStation, Xbox. You can play as these characters on any platform. Now, I think you have to be able to, no, yeah, I bought Master Chief on PlayStation. And so I don't think Nintendo wanted that. I don't think that's basically what we got word of today. So that's why it didn't happen. But there was a plan to put Samus in Fortnite. It just fell through. So that sucks. But it kind of brings me to the point of like, oh, if there was something I could change about Nintendo if I was in control. I do think that they should be a little bit more liberal with their IP. Like that. In a circumstance like that, does it really hurt them if Samus is only in Fortnite? Like, as long as it's clear that Samus is from Metroid and that Metroid's only on Nintendo, I think it's fine. Like, it's not, it kind of is another interesting thing. Like, for example, I'm using the phone analogy again. Let's say I'm using an iPhone. They're not going to, and I see like something about Android, like they're not going to pretend Android doesn't exist or vice versa, right? Like, in fact, now they're more integrated than they have been before. Like, we should be aware of the existence of other consoles. Like that I think it's fine. And I don't think Samus being in Fortnite just and it's something you can buy on other platforms is a big deal. I don't think it hurts the IP in any way. And so I think they should be a little bit more liberal with that. But going beyond that, you look at things like what was it? AM2R, right? Like there have been some fan projects that have been taken down. And I think in some senses it's not really fair. It's fair because it's Nintendo's IP and they can do what they want with it, but I don't think it's best. I think that, there should be a little bit more, they should be a little bit more liberal with allowing, fans to do different things like that. And I think Nintendo should loosen up a little bit. Now, the reason why I'm not totally convinced that this is something that should change 100%, it's because I think what's most important about Nintendo, it's the gameplay, right? But it's the gameplay of their games. In other words, their IP, their characters, their series. This is what's most important about them. The Marios, the Zeldas, the Pokemons, the Splatoons, the Animal Crossings, the Metroids, and so on. They need to be protective of these IP. They don't want them going out to places and being bastardized and being misleading to what the product actually is, and to be portrayed in a way that doesn't match the Nintendo brand of quality. So I understand that. it's important for Nintendo to kind of uphold this sense of quality. And by being more liberal and allowing their IP to be used in different places in different ways, that becomes more of a challenge. And so that's why I'm not sure this should change, because I think Nintendo is coming at it from the right perspective. I just think maybe it just needs to be fine-tuned. I just think they need to be a little bit more liberal, but still ultimately be very cautious about how their IP are used. And so that's pretty much what I think. I'll go, talking it through, I would say yes. They should change how restrictive they are with the use of their IP. They should still be restrictive, but lighten it a little bit. They should open things up for online, and they should be just a little bit more vocal about what's going on with them. I think it's great that they're secretive. Just be slightly less secretive. It's kind of like things that they're doing. I just think they just need to lighten up a little bit. And with online services, they just actually need to have better communication features. And that's what I would change. So yeah, there you go. I just went on a 15-minute tangent talking about that. So hopefully, thank you for the good talking point, J.R.R. Tolkien. I think that was good to talk about. Let's see here. Looks like I got a couple things to reference in my starred chats here. So Aaron Ravs has renewed their membership, been a member for 4 straight months. It's always been good having you around, Aaron. Aaron says, "What's up, Andres? Nice stash. I've been busy with work and watching your videos on my way home. Still got it, Andres." Thank you, Aaron. I very much appreciate that. I'm keeping the stash for now. I think I need to trim it a little bit, but thank you. And I'm doing all right. I'm trying to put my head down and focus on what I got to do. And, I think we're headed in an overall positive direction. So I'm good. Taker610 with a super chat. Thank you for that super chat, Taker. Taker says, "Immediately release Prime 4, Andres." You know what? You're right. It's on me. I am the reason Prime 4 has not released yet. So I will immediately release it. I mean, if I was in control of Nintendo, what would I do? So obviously it's just a funny post, right? Or a funny comment. But I will use this as an opportunity to talk about something in reference to Metroid Prime 4. So I think right now we are at a point where we don't know what Nintendo's doing with Metroid Prime 4. Based off what we've heard, what we've seen of the QA testing and different things going on, I have confidence that Metroid Prime 4 is nearing completion and will come out. It's not canceled or anything like that, and it's going to be at least a pretty good game. At least. However, how Nintendo releases Metroid Prime 4 is where I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now. There is a school of thought that, hey, this year is looking kind of dry. This is the last big known Switch game. Put it out for this holiday, and it could be a real banger. But then there's the other school of thought. We are so close to the next generation, they might as well save it as a cross-generation title and capitalize on the abilities of the Switch 2 and have that version available, at the same time as Switch owners. So you have 2 different versions. So what should be done, right? Like, if I was in control of Nintendo, if I was calling the shots, what do I think should be done regarding Metroid Prime 4? And I'm not sure. But there's something I've realized recently that I think is very telling. Assuming it's based off a rumor, so take it with a grain of salt, right? But based off all the reports, there was a plan for Switch 2 to come out in the year of 2024. And so let's just keep that in mind, right? It's been delayed to early 2025, but the plan was initially for holiday 2024. Jeff Grubb has also put out info where he said he heard there's supposed to be a big marketing push for Metroid, including Metroid Prime 4, starting in May. Why would Nintendo start a big marketing push for Metroid Prime 4 in May? Now, this is information from a while back. Now, recently, during the partner showcase, that was back in February, all the Epic Mickey stuff, when Jeff Grubb saw that, he said, "Oh, I feel better about Metroid Prime 4 coming out this year now," because the source also told him about that. Now, again, this is dated information, so it may have changed. But the point I'm getting at here is that if Jeff Grubb's sources are legitimate, and I think they are, but sometimes timing is tricky because plans change, there was a plan to start marketing Metroid Prime 4 around May. And if that's the case, I think that does hard imply that Metroid Prime 4 was going to be a big release around the holidays. Around the time Nintendo was also planning to release the Nintendo Switch 2. So then, you tell me, chat, based off that, would you not think Nintendo would seriously consider Metroid Prime 4, a game that's been in development for like 7 years, is supposedly incredibly impressive from a technological perspective? Why would they not consider a cross-gen version for Switch 2? So I'm going to put a poll in the chat. I'm not saying it is a cross-gen version, right? Just to be clear. I'm saying that Nintendo must have at least has seriously considered it as an option. So let me see how I should write this question for the poll. Assuming Switch 2 and Prime 4 were both at least initially slated for holiday 2024, was it cross-gen? Damn it. I'm only allowed to put down 100 characters, and my sentence is 101. Assuming Switch 2 and Prime 4 are both initial... Okay, I don't have to say at least. I can cut that out. That's fluff. I mean, it's clear enough. We're initially slated for holiday 2024. Was it cross-gen? Would it have been... Would it be cross-gen? Do I have enough characters? Yeah, I'm good. Would it be cross-gen? Okay, so let me read this out one more time. Assuming Switch 2 and Prime 4 were both initially slated for holiday 2024, would it be cross-gen? All right, that's good. I think I did it. I wrote a proper sentence. Take that, English. Yeah. So anyway, I think you guys may understand what I'm getting at here, right? If you're playing both Switch 2 and Prime 4 for the holidays, same time, why would it not be cross-gen? And so we've heard the reports of Switch 2 being delayed. We don't know about Prime 4. And so that's why it's tricky. I think it comes down to how much Switch 2 is getting delayed. If Switch 2 is only being delayed by a few months, and Nintendo has games that would be compelling for this holiday, I think you do wait a few months. We're talking about less than 6 months, right? We're less than that to release Prime 4 cross-gen. That's what I would do if I was in control. Now, if we're talking about more than 6 months, no. And if we're talking about not having enough good games for this holiday, no. But I think Nintendo will have enough compelling content for the holiday to carry us over to supposed launch window of Switch 2, which I think Prime 4 will be in that around that time. Of course, if I'm wrong and it comes up this holiday, I'm not going to complain. I want the game desperately. I'll play it on just Switch 1 very happily. I don't mind. But I'm just telling you what I would do if I was in control, because I think that would be the best course of action for Metroid. It would have the Switch 2 hype. You would have the better looking version you can advertise, but you still have both versions. People can choose which one they want, but also you have the potential evergreen boost by being a big Switch 2 launch title very early on, and that could help the Metroid brand overall. So that's kind of my perspective on it. Meanwhile, you could have Prime 2 and 3 come out during this time where there aren't as many big games. More people will give those games a try. They'll give Prime 1 a try, especially if they're marketing Metroid Prime 4, putting up discounts for these games. So a lot of people can still get to know the Metroid Prime series during this time in preparation for Prime 4 early next year. That's my thinking on it. Obviously, that's just what I would do if I was hypothetically in control of Nintendo. But I'll take whatever they give me. Shout outs to Chrono Rig, who has been a member for 18 straight months. Glad to have you around, buddy. So far in the poll, 73% of you agree with me that if both were coming for the holiday, that they would have had it would have been cross-gen. Anyway, back to the chat. The real J Stone asks me, what if the Switch 2 trailer won't show up for the 2024 year? The September Direct may gonna happen, and possibly Nintendo had their one final killer app for the holiday season. I'll try to understand the question. What if the Switch 2 trailer won't show up for the 2024 year? Okay. All right, so and the September Direct maybe not going to happen, and may happen, and the possible Intelligent had their own final killer app for the holiday. So hopefully I'm interpreting your question right. It feels like it's more than one question. I'll say that, and it's what's the video? Yeah, the video I made yesterday. I was talking about how with the Switch 2 situation, right? If Nintendo doesn't announce it within the next couple weeks, well, the 3 weeks, because May 7th is more than 2 weeks away, right? It's like 2.5 weeks. 1 week, it's almost 2 weeks, so 15 days. 15 days from now is May 7th. If we don't have an announcement for Switch 2 within the next 15 days, by the way, when I say announcement, I'm not talking about a trailer. I'm just talking about, like, hey, acknowledgement of its existence. I think this console is maybe coming out later, like after March. Because at this point we're entering the new fiscal year. I think this is the time. That's kind of my perspective on it. So yeah, I would say that if we don't have any news on it for the next few weeks, I think we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Of course, I could be wrong, right? That's just my assumption. I do not know. But I'm thinking, fingers crossed, we do hear something within the next few weeks. And I think regardless of whether Switch 2 is coming out March, summer next year, somehow this year, whenever, I still think Nintendo is going to have games to play this holiday that they will advertise. And so there will be things to show off in a September Direct. The guy you don't know adds me. Nintendo is very antagonistic towards emulation in general, while lacking with their own game preservation methods. That's something I prioritize improving. Yeah. I think I kind of spoke a little bit on that. I didn't talk too much about game preservation. Maybe this is where I get flamed, right? But I'm actually not that against what they have for NSO. Having the games available as they are on NSO where you can play them. I kind of actually really like that. Now, I understand some people want to just be able to own the games, and that's, tough. I mean, if it wasn't too much work, maybe they could offer a method where you could buy each game independently, although it doesn't, in terms of practicality, it doesn't seem like, that would work. But then you look at situations like Nintendo DS and 3DS. We don't have a modern way to play those systems. With GameCube, right? Like, that system's old. We don't have a way to play those games. They're just remastering some of them. So there's it's a tough question. It's not something I really think about too much. I whenever I think about this stuff, I'm like, oh man, when I make a lot of money someday, I'm gonna take the time to like go out collecting and finding every console and on the libraries. But it's expensive, and it's hard to find them. It's a real mission. Adam Rohn, been a member for 12 straight months, says, yo to you as well. I hope you're doing well. Nintendo Prime tangent. This entire show is a tangent. From one tangent to another. That's how we do it here. Okay, I think this kind of this goes back to the question Real J Stone asked earlier. Do you think it would be weird to not release a Switch trailer for the 2024 calendar year? It really just comes down to when Nintendo's releasing the console. If the console is coming out after March of 2025, then I would say no. I think, we should get a trailer for Switch 2 this year. assuming it's coming out by March 2025. Now, if we don't get a trailer this year, and it is because the system's taking even longer to come out, I then have to ask, why is it taking that long? Because I would say that's weird. I already think it's weird that Nintendo's taking this long, right? And you could maybe just say, well, yeah, well, business is going well, so that's why they're taking this long. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's really that simple. But you know, I don't think they're setting themselves up well if they continue to take a really long time to come out with a console. So I would say it's weird. Not disastrous, just weird. Maybe disastrous for me as someone who wants to cover Nintendo content and if they don't announce anything. But for them, no, they're good. They'll be all right. All right, scrolling through the chat here. Ninja Prince asked, are you buying Eiyuden Chronicle on the Switch? I don't think I am, because I'm not even familiar with that game. I'm sure I've seen it before, but I guess it hasn't been something that I'm like, oh yeah, I need that game. Yeah, no, I don't think I am. Why, is it like really good? Let's see what's I don't know anything about it. Like, nothing. What's it on Metacritic? Oh, it's not bad, 78%. It's pretty good. I'm assuming it's an RPG. I can't even see gameplay. Oh, it looks cool actually. Oh, let's play. Let's check out our trailer real quick. Why not? Let's see. Maybe you know, maybe this trailer will steer me otherwise. Okay, this is the official launch trailer. Let me put this up for you guys so you can see it. First, I will lower this. Okay, and then let me present this trailer. All right, you guys should be able to see this now. Let me know if it's lagging or anything. All right. Well, it's not loading, so that's a good start. See, that's awkward. It's not even working. The Switch version is bad. Well, the YouTube trailer doesn't even work, so. Oh, wait. I don't know why it's taking this long. It's really annoying me.
You've got ambitions.
Oh, there we go.
I understand that. But my situation's changed, and I have to leave through that gate.
It's over, Noah. Accept it.
It is lagging. That's unfortunate. Oh, they got premium enhanced bitrate. I have too many tabs. I doubt that. I like the music. I like the gameplay too. It looks cool, actually.
You must be the new guy Emir mentioned. Are you not with them?
I'm Marissa. We're Guardians.
What do you say you let me join up with you?
Have you got a soft spot for eggplants like I do?
Welcome, good page.
I don't know. It's interesting. I'm not gonna deal with this lag for another 2 minutes. But yeah, I'm not gonna tell you I'm gonna buy it just because I'm not gonna buy like every single game that looks cool. Wait, Duel, I am not using a Chromebook. I just YouTube being dumb. Yeah, it looks cool. Looks cool. I'll raise that a bit. Dylan Banning, Eiyuden Chronicle. It's spelled Eiyuden Chronicle. I mean, we were just talking about earlier in the chat, but Eiyuden Chronicle. But if the Switch version has a bad Metacritic, it sounds like it is running terribly. That's unfortunate. Yeah. Where are we? Okay, we're good. We're doing good. All right, we are doing good. Okay, cool. Nintendo Scarlet. I don't believe Metroid Prime 4 will do Mario numbers or Zelda numbers. I believe Metroid Prime 4 will do 5 million. Well, I think that's valid and likely true. At least in terms of the part where it won't perform like Mario or Zelda. I mean, Zelda has sold 30 plus million. Mario sold 25 plus million. Like, I don't think in general we should predict those kinds of numbers for any game, really. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom might not even get to that number. But then let's ask ourselves, can Metroid Prime 4 get to 20? That would be insane. Metroid Prime 4 would have to really... It would have to become a significant cultural phenomenon, which I would love. I think that'd be great for Metroid, Nintendo, the industry, just humanity as a whole. I don't think we should expect that. But, you know, I've mentioned 10 million before. I'm not going to... I understand it's a little bit of hopium maximum, right? I think they would have to really, you know, do something super special and have to really stand out. And to be a little lucky. But I do kind of feel like, you know, they could get to 10. Like that's like a best case scenario. 5, I think, is the minimum, is what I'm kind of thinking. I think 5 is the minimum. Now, I'm not saying 5 million the first month. I'm saying 5 million lifetime, you know, I think is the minimum. You know, so I think it'll get past that. And as Linky just brings up, if it has a good multiplayer, he can see it doing 10 plus million. And we don't know if it'll have multiplayer or not, but I think, you know, something like multiplayer does extend the legs of the series, right, of the game. And if people are continuing to play it for years to come, more and more people will buy the game, right? So then that can kind of expand. So, yeah, I think 5 is the minimum, and 10 is like the high. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But I would love it for it to be higher, you know. Ultimately, as long as they reach a new height for Metroid, I think that's what's most important. Hello there, Captain Doge. Wade Duel, you think Metroid Prime 4 will sell 7 million? Interesting. It's within that range. Wily Tiger thinks it'll get 8 to 10, okay? Ivan Moises Mendoza. Andres, do you think Nintendo will release Twilight Princess and Wind Waker the sale year? I mean, I'm assuming you mean this year. I think that they should, but I think there's going to be something Zelda this year. And take your pick. Actually, this would be a good new poll. So how long is... All right, this poll's been up for 16 minutes, 87 votes. That's good enough. I think we got the point. It's not going to really change, right? So I'm going to end the poll now. All right, and I'm going to come back to the question number 1. I just want to wrap up this poll here. So earlier I asked, assuming Switch 2 and Prime 4 were both initially slated for holiday 2024, would it be cross-gen? 74% of you said yes. So I think, I mean, that basically says most of you agree, right? Now, the new poll I'm putting up is about what Zelda game is coming out this year, because I think something Zelda is going to come out this year. Why do I think something Zelda is going to come out this year? Because historically speaking, something Zelda comes out every year. We didn't get anything in 2022, but Tears of the Kingdom was delayed to May of 2023. And what's interesting about it coming out in May is that it didn't come out in holiday. In other words, the gap between Tears of the Kingdom and whatever would come out, say, in the second half of this year is even longer than other times we've been between Zelda games, right? So I would say that the chances are higher that a Zelda game will come out this year, especially considering that outside of 2022, every year of Switch, there's been something Zelda. So I stand by the idea that, yes, something Zelda is going to come out this year. Now, what might that be? There are 3 things that I think could reasonably happen. There are other things people will mention. I'm not putting them on this poll because it's my poll and I don't agree with it. But these I could see happening. So one is 2D. What is the Zelda? I'm gonna write the question. What is the Zelda? You know, I'll put a fourth option just because. What is the Zelda something this year? All right, so one option I think is a 2D Zelda game. Another option is some combination of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, be it just one of them or both of them, some combination of those. Another is Hyrule Warriors Imprisoning War. I'll just put Hyrule Warriors. I'll put new Hyrule Warriors because, yeah. I don't have enough characters to put Hyrule Warriors Imprisoning War. And then I'll put a fourth option just for those that don't believe in any of this. Nothing. Something different. Explain. You explain in chat at that point. All right, so yeah, this is what I got. Was Zelda something this year? 2D Zelda, some combination of Wind Waker, Twilight Princess HD, new Hyrule Warriors, nothing, something different. Okay. Yeah, the fourth option is just for someone who just disagrees with me. But yeah. If we don't get Wind Waker, Twilight Princess HD this year, I just don't know when it's going to happen. So, I am actually surprised to see that nothing, something different is. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised that nothing, something different is in second place. Shouldn't be. I shouldn't be. Might win. It is winning. That is interesting. That is. Hey. Opinions. People have them. Now, so I will say though, obviously nothing / something different is not just nothing. It's maybe nothing, maybe something different. If you don't think we're getting any Zelda this year, why do you think that? If we usually get something Zelda every year, why would we not get something this year? I'm kind of curious what you guys think on that. And if you're thinking it's something beyond what I mentioned, 2D Zelda, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, or Hyrule Warriors, what would it be? Now, some of you might bring up, oh, well, whatever happened to Ocarina of Time remake? I still think that's a thing. But that's a theory for a game that I think Nintendo is working on. But we won't see that until Switch 2 and into the Switch 2 lifecycle. It's not going to be the launch window game. I think it'll come out within the first 2 years of Switch 2. So if Switch 2 is coming out early 2025, then, there's your window, right? That's my perspective on that. And so that's not something that will be a part of this conversation. It wouldn't be a part of Switch 1. The idea behind Nintendo remaking another Zelda early on for the next console is to have some kind of cool, hype Zelda release that showcases the console early on. And so that's why that would make sense. It's not a Switch 1 title. I see Wind Waker Twilight Princess, though, have taken a sizable lead so far with 60 votes in just 2 minutes. Just the poll's only been out for 2 minutes. I see. Okay. I'm going to keep that in mind. I'll keep it in mind for now. All right, back to the chat. Actually, I'll ask the chat. This is not a poll. This is just, me asking you guys. What does Metroid Prime 4 need to become a big seller? What do they need to do for Metroid Prime 4 to become one of Nintendo's bigger franchises, to get to that 10 million mark or so? What do they need to do? I realize a lot of you in the chat probably are Metroid fans, but I'm also certain that not everyone in the chat is. Some of you may be excited about it. Some people may be waiting to try Metroid Prime 4 as your first Metroid title, or maybe some of you are just not interested. What do they need to do to make Metroid something that you'd be interested in, but also something that you think would help it become a big seller? Me looking at the chat so far, LNA Plush Play says good marketing. Thomas Cook says online multiplayer. Wiley Tiger says immersive open areas. I really like. I like everything you guys are saying, but immersive open areas gets me the most excited. But I think we could have it all, right? Well, I think doesn't mean it's true. The MF52 says they need to actually market it. That is a fair point. Nintendo Scarlet, a great multiplayer. Okay. Dylan Banning, outstanding graphics. All right, all in caps. Okay, I hear you loud and clear. Having hope, not sure, to be honest. I'm glad you're being honest. It is a tough question. If you're only going to pick one thing, what is that thing that will put it over the edge, right? It's not easy. Kyle Barclay, online multiplayer, and then make it amazing. Okay. So an amazing online multiplayer. What would be an amazing? I can give you some ideas for an amazing online multiplayer. An amazing online multiplayer to me. Well, first, before we get to the online multiplayer, I'm gonna paint you a picture for my ideal version of Metroid Prime 4. Now, again, let me just reiterate. This is my ideal version of Metroid Prime 4. I'm not saying this is what the game is going to be. This is just what I want it to be. Okay? I want Metroid Prime 4 to be a game that is arguably one of the most impressive games Nintendo's ever released, if not the most impressive game they've ever released. Visually, it's going to stand out. It's going to take place in an exotic alien world. There's going to be areas that are dark and scary. There are going to be other areas that are bright and energetic and exciting. You're going to have alien jungles that have lush plant life, and there's going to be creatures you can interact with that are docile. So there's going to be an immersion to the game that feels very alien but wild at the same time. But then you're going to have, bigger sprawling areas as well, and there's just going to be a lot of locales that really stand out and are extremely picturesque, but the environments are also super, super interactive. So that's kind of part of it, right? But at the same time, while there are large openish areas, the map is very interwoven. So you're going to have shortcuts and paths that lead to one point to another and back and forth. And so but what you're ultimately trying to do is trying to find yourself deeper and find yourself to get deeper and deeper into the core of the planet to find the crux of the issue that led you there, right? And so that's kind of my impression of the gameplay structure, but from the level layout, right? But also in terms of gameplay, Samus moves around more fluidly, more quickly. We see her use her speed booster. There are more moments where they show Samus in third person. It's still a first-person game, but there's a lot more third-person moments. Perhaps you can even have third-person camera as an option. But Samus has a melee counter. She has a dash. She has a dive or a slide like she does in Metroid Dread. She can run on walls like modern first-person shooters. She can use her grapple beam and things of that nature and screw attack. Basically, all the things we've seen Samus do before, but more quickly alongside a lot of the first-person shooting elements we've seen in more recent games that give characters a lot more fluidity and speed with their movement. There's going to be a sprint option. things of that nature. So it's gonna be a fast-paced game. And there's going to be, you know, really, really, really clean combat, really, really cool boss fights, but also a lot of puzzles. That's going to, you know, for Zelda purists, you're going to get a lot of that in there. A lot of that level structure. I think that's going to be really cool for people. So, and that's kind of like how I envision the game. I'm imagining it's going to be bigger than any other prior Metroid game. I'm going to say 40 to 50 hours. You know, if without 100%ing, just like a typical campaign. If you go for 100%, you can get upwards of 100. But as you progress in the game, you're also unlocking features and bonuses in multiplayer, which brings you to the multiplayer. Again, this is the ideal scenario, right? So this is all under the assumption that the multiplayer is this beautiful masterpiece. It's highly optimized, highly polished, super sophisticated and interwoven. It's just it's a masterpiece. But they still found a way to add a really great multiplayer on top of that. And so as you progress in your game, as you get closer to 100%, and yes, there will be a new game plus, so you can play the game at a higher difficulty with some extra remixes. But as you progress, right, there will be things that get added to the multiplayer. Like you unlock new skins, costumes, different characters, and it's going to be a multiplayer shooter. But it's going to basically be like you can basically build your own hunter based off Samus, but other hunters as well. And it's your own thing. You can look like Samus, you can look like someone else, and you have different abilities and techniques. And you put teams together and you fight each other like you can in a lot of other games. But yeah, and that's kind of it. Like they basically just create like a competitive hero shooter, but it's using Metroid Prime 4 mechanics, and you build on that. I could make it crazier. I could be like, oh, well, I could do like Federation Force cooperative gameplay. You go out hunting bosses and stuff. That'd be cool. Maybe there's like an extra option there where it's like there's like a weekly event where you could team up with people and fight an enemy together on a sort of like mission where they take like a slice of like the game map and remix it somewhat for the online mode. This has actually been done before, somewhat like in if you go back to Mario Kart Wii, they would add boss fights in different arenas that you would fight on a semi-occasional basis. So that could be kind of like a cool like co-op event to help mix things up a little bit. And I think that would be a really cool package, right? That would be awesome. And I think it will keep people coming back. It'd be really fun. It'll appeal. I think it'll actually appeal to a larger audience if the game is faster paced, if it has multiplayer. Those things will help bring people in. Oh, something else I'll mention. Scan visor. The scan visor is something I love about the Metroid series, and I'm not saying to get rid of it. It has to stay. However, I think it needs to be streamlined. I think the game needs to be designed in a way where you don't feel like you have to be stuck and just scanning everything. It's more like there's almost like an auto scan going, and if you want more detail, then you can get that. So optimize that, streamline it a bit. Basically, it's about creating faster paced gameplay. You do all that, and then market it to Kingdom Come. I think you're in for a hell of a game that'll do really well. That's kind of my vision for it. Blurry says sounds like Halo. Maybe the single player wouldn't be like Halo. You got to play Metroid. I would say I would describe it more like, think like, I don't know, Dark Souls. If you haven't played Metroid before, like think like Dark Souls. Except there are, instead of bonfires, there are save stations. And there's also a lot of close corridors and open areas intermixed with really lush, interactive, immersive environments with tons of scuffles and fights in between, and a lot more puzzles, which you don't really see in Dark Souls, right? So maybe Skyward Sword, but even then, Skyward Sword, like, it's very segmented. It's kind of like the interwoven nature of Dark Souls, the constant environmental puzzles of Skyward Sword, but then, you know, Metroid gameplay. It approaches. You are so wrong, bro. Souls has a lot in common with Metroid. You just don't know what you're talking about. First off, the Souls games have inspiration from Zelda and Metroid. So, like, nextly, like, the whole structure of Metroid games, right? When you obtain an item, you can then go back to another area, and now that you have that item, it allows you to progress further. That's how the Souls games are, specifically Dark Souls. So, no, yeah, you're just exactly Netweed. Souls is basically Metroid, but with a sword. It's extremely similar. Yeah. Obviously, they're very different, but there are similarities. Oh, Boo Mini has gifted a membership. Who got the membership? Hey, Wily Tiger. Nice. All right. So, guy you don't know adds me. Appealing to the widest possible demographic, i.e. casual players, is the most effective way to draw attention to Prime 4. However, that could risk sacrificing Metroid's core identity. Yeah. That is challenging. I want to go back to what I was talking about with kind of sort of explore, like, with the immersiveness of the world. I'm talking about, like, you'll be exploring an alien world, right? And you can move your arm cannon, and there'll be a leaf, and when you flick your arm cannon, the leaf will flick, right? Or there'll be, like, let's just say kind of like, think kind of like a small elephant, right? But it's alien, right? It has 6 legs instead, and it has like a couple extra eyes, but it's cute. They're like cute big eyes, right? And it's like a slightly different color, a little bit more scaly, and so it has like some fluffiness to it, right? So think like an alien elephant. That's basically what I'm describing, right? But it's a little bit smaller, kind of like the Dons in Tears of the Kingdom, right? So envision that, but with like kind of like pseudo realistic graphics that would fit in the world of Metroid, and Samus will be walking through, and she can interact with these creatures. She can pet the creatures, right? She can even like ride them. Like, I'm asking for an alien world that's kind of more realized than ever before, right? Like, I'm talking about like you're gonna see fauna, you're gonna see plants and animals, and it's gonna be like how many games we have where they showcase like an organic alien world and make it feel like a living, breathing world, right? Where you can see kind of like you go and play Metroid Prime 1, you see the raindrops hitting your visor. Like, I want there to be attention to detail to make you feel like you're in a realistic world. Yes, Wyatt Tiger. Alien elephants in Prime 4 that you can pet and ride. Like, so basically what I'm getting at here is just create an immersive alien world that you can explore and interact with, right? And what I'm talking about is a level of interactivity that you don't really see in other games. I think this is something that the Metroid series could move in, because there's already an increased focus in immersion and attention to detail, and they continue to build upon that, not just by visual effects, but also with how you literally interact with the environment. I think that does a lot for the immersion. Let's see here. Boris, something like the chemistry system go Breath of the Wild system, but would be awesome in a Metroid game. A chemistry system. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to picture that. Like, it would be cool if we can like mix and match different elements to create different beam weapons. That would be cool. That would be a really fun little element. Jude Farmer, that came to mind to me. Yeah, No Man's Sky is like what you're describing as a game that has attributes that you're describing. Yeah. Now, obviously, Metroid has other elements, like, it's there's a lot of fighting involved. There's a lot of puzzles involved. But in terms of like that depiction of an exotic alien world, that part, yeah. All right, so I'm going to go back to the poll that I put up. It's been out for 17 minutes, and this is interesting. This poll has taken quite the turn. So we got 109 votes so far, and I had asked earlier, what is the Zelda something this year? Of the 4 options, the one that's losing out is a New Hyrule Warriors, right? The third option, the third place option is when I just offered the option of, we're getting nothing this year or just something not mentioned, right? And then the 2 top options are some combination of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD at 34% in second place, and then 2D Zelda in first place, also at 34%. So it's 34%, but plus 1 or something. So that's very interesting that both 2D Zelda and some combination of Wind Waker, Twilight Princess are basically tied for the Zelda something this year. Yeah, it's tough, right? Because on one hand, I think like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD would sell a lot and would make a lot of fans happy, but it also would just be ports of games that were already remastered, right? Like these games have been around for years on multiple platforms. On the other hand, like 2D Zelda, right? Like that would be a new release. It would be a new game. That'd be pretty fun. And we haven't had a new 2D Zelda in a very long time. So, you know, what makes more sense? I think it just comes down to, is 2D Zelda ready? If 2D Zelda's not ready, then Nintendo should be like, well, all right, time to dust off Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. This is the time. Let's put it out there. So that's what I think it will ultimately come down to. But those are my top bets for what I think will happen this year. A new Hyrule Warriors is like an outside chance to me. Hello there, Rescue Squad Club. How are you? Netweed asks, will we get one planet or multiple worlds? So Metroid Prime 3 did multiple worlds, and it was cool. And I remember back then, fans were like, oh man, what if we had a Metroid game where we could explore multiple worlds? And it's a cool idea, but I do think that the multiple worlds, each world had less to find in them, right? It was kind of spread apart. And ultimately, I think it took away from just that deep, immersive exploration you get on a particular place, right? Like you go, like Metroid, like, you know, Talon 4, and man, I forget the name of the planet in Metroid Prime 2. But like each planet, like there's a huge focus on that one planet and finding the different things there. So I would prefer to have one big planet that has a lot of very expansive environments with a lot to find and to dig deeper into. Now, you want to make things interesting, though. Hear me out, okay? It's one big planet. And the game's not so much open world, but maybe semi-open world where there are some limitations in terms of how you go about doing things, but there's still a lot of openness, right, with the environments, and you still get a sense that you can explore the majority of the planet. So, right, so hear me out there. Maybe what if they were to follow this? So it's a big game. This is a much bigger game than prior Metroid games, but maybe there are some parts of the planet that are not the planet. Like, what if like you can explore a moon, you know? But it's kind of part of the planet. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not talking about going to an entirely different planet, but if there is like, for example, and technically Metroid Prime, like there is the space frigate, which is orbiting Talon 4. So like, what if there are some space stations or moons or, you know, just debris that are orbiting the planet? I'm open to maybe that, right? And you can come back down to the planet, explore the different like biomes within the planet, also get deeper to the core. Like that to me would be cool. And at least then, like, you could have a little bit of that, hey, well, let's go out of this a little bit, have a little bit of air, space exploration, but ultimately it's still focused on one area. To me, that would be the best of both worlds. Wily Tiger, yeah, there we go. Well, here goes Andre's Metroid Prime 4 Moon Theory. I'm bringing back the Moon Theory. Bringing it back. Leo Aguiar, thank you. Ether was a planet in Metroid Prime 2. I appreciate that. Thank you for reminding me. I do love Metroid Prime 3, by the way, just so we're clear. I enjoy that game very much. I cried when I beat it the first time as a kid. But since we're talking on this, Thomas Cook asked another interesting question. They asked me, do you think Prime 4 will be open world? No, I don't. I don't think it'll be open world. But I do think some people might see the game and think it's open world. Example. A lot of people refer to Xenoblade as open world. There's actually only one Xenoblade game that's open world. And that's Xenoblade X. The other Xenoblade games are not open world. They just have really large, expansive areas that are interconnected. And there are shortcuts to take you between the different areas, but there's ultimately a linear story being told. That could be a little bit of the Metroid vibe. I think there could be some big expansive areas, but I also think there's going to be a lot more focus on caves and space stations and just interwoven environments with more shortcuts and perhaps even some sequence breaking planned in. But people may see some areas and be like, whoa, that looks open world, right? Like, I think sometimes people just see when you see a large, expansive environment, that doesn't mean it's open world. Some people think Super Mario Odyssey is open world. It is not open world. It's a level-based game with big open sandbox environments to explore. Open world actually speaks more towards the gameplay structure where you can do things out of order. There isn't necessarily a designated order you have to go. You can kind of do things how you choose. And those tend to go hand in hand with, well, you have a large, seamless environment to explore. And so there are some differences there. But I do think there can be areas that have an openness to them. And so it's a little bit of that, right? And I think that would actually be the best of both worlds. Sky Tours Alyssa asks me, gotta go. Keep up the good work. Loving these new videos you're coming up with. Glad you enjoy them. Thank you for coming by. Velociraptor Ghost asks me, what if Metroid and Star Wars had a crossover? Imagine Samus with an army of clone troopers taking on Darth Vader and showing the Emperor that she can blow up planets without a Death Star. That would be crazy. I mean, you know, that's the stuff of dreams right there. That'd be a wild crossover. It'd be hilarious. I'd love it. Samus at the end of Metroid Dread is extremely powerful. I would like they talk about how Samus is like a universal level threat. I'd like to see some universal like scale powers of destruction. That'd be pretty cool. Thulgar Atsi, what 2D Metroid boss would you like to see in 3D in Metroid Prime 4? Kraid. I'd like to see Kraid in 3D. Yeah, I mean that's my first thought right there, Kraid. Beyond that, I do think the boss in Metroid Dread of what's his name? Experiment Z57. Did I get that right? I think I got it wrong. No, I didn't. I got it right. Experiment number Z57. That is the name of the boss. It's an experiment, but it looks crazy. Fighting that in 3D would be epic. Something like that would be pretty cool. That one would be awesome. I'm trying to remember this boss from Fusion. I don't remember the name of it. It's the one with a cry face. It has like a face that whines or like oozes. I'm looking at thumbnails now. That might be interesting to fight in 3D. But actually, now that I'm looking at like some Fusion stuff, I'm reminded of the Omega Metroid. And actually, just thinking about you think about Metroid 2. I want to fight a Metroid Queen, right? I want to fight a Metroid Queen. I want to fight an Omega Metroid. We fought in Metroid Prime, but some of the 2D Metroid games really explore like a different like evolutionary stages, or maybe evolution is the right. Well, there could be evolution, but also like Metroids go through several metamorphosis right throughout their life cycle. I want to focus on finding the different styles of Metroid like we have in 2D Metroid games. That would be really cool, and there's gonna be a lot of really cool boss fights in that way. So yeah, those are some things I would like to see in 3D. Oh, you know what? Now I'm thinking. So what was a lava boss in Other M? What was the lava boss? Because I remember that one would be pretty cool. Oh, man. Dude. What's wild is like... Alright, let me show you... Let me just show you this screenshot right here. Other M is... My memory is kind of like... 4, right? I kind of want to go back and play that game. But... That game needs a remaster. But it won't get one because it wasn't popular. But check this out. That was a Wii game. This is a boss in a Wii game. It just looks crazy good. Like, Metroid Other M actually was pretty impressive for a Wii game. I'm sure this is like upscaled or something, but it looks awesome. Yeah. All right, I'm ending the poll. So, earlier I asked, what is the Zelda something? Got 120 votes, and apparently at 35%, I think it rounded down. I think it was at 36. Some combination of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD won out. 2D Zelda at one point was winning at 34%, but it looks like in the final stretch, it swung in the favor of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. So there you go. At third place, nothing or something different, 20%, and then 11% a new Hyrule Warriors. So if anyone's listening, if you have Hyrule Warriors planned for this year, you got to cancel it. You got to cancel it because we don't want it. Real talk, if we got a Hyrule Warriors Imprisoning War, I would be into it just to get more lore stuff, and I would play it. It would definitely be cool to do more Zelda theories with that. But yeah, I think it would be better for the sake of having fun games to get. If we're gonna have to get another Warriors game, give us Xenoblade Warriors. And I think it makes sense now because I feel like we're gonna have a break year for Xenoblade. Right, so give us Xenoblade Warriors now, maybe next year for the launch year Switch 2, give us the Mullen Swift and that new IP. Then the year after, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, or maybe a year break or something. And then a few years into Switch 2, we get Xenoblade 4. That to me would be a better sort of trajectory they could follow for the Xenoblade / Monolith Soft games, as opposed to just doing another Zelda Warriors. So there's a question that was asked that I saw that I want to get to. Oh, it wasn't a question, it was a statement. Kuro Kamina said it looks like a Zelda boss. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Metroid is that Metroid and Zelda actually have some similarities, especially with the boss fights. Like, there's a focus on fighting these giant monsters, right? And finding weak points is kind of like a puzzle. I think there's a similarity there, right? So it's kind of one of those things where, like, man, I feel like there should be a lot more Zelda fans to give Metroid a try, because there's definitely some deep connections there from a gameplay perspective. Resist NWO 1984 asks me, is it a foregone conclusion that Prime 4 is on Switch 2 since we ain't ever seen anything other than a logo? If it was a Switch game, I'd imagine we would have gotten some images, etc. Yeah, I think that is actually a fairly reasonable thought. But I would not go as far as to say it's a foregone conclusion. Because fact matter is we don't know what's coming this year. But I think we're going to know soon. I think there's a part of Nintendo that maybe just think, oh, well, let's put out this game because it'll be a good game to have for the holiday. But I do think we are leaning in the I am leaning in the direction of Prime 4 is being saved as a cross-gen title for Switch 2. But as I talked about this earlier in the stream, I think it comes down to, one, how delayed is Switch 2? And two, what games does Nintendo have instead of Metroid Prime 4 to keep us going until then? So depending on the answer to those two questions, I think that would dictate whether Prime 4 is a cross-gen title. Because as discussed earlier, there's some rumors, right, that one suggested Switch was supposed to come out this holiday, right? But another that Prime 4 marketing is supposed to start in May. If both of those were the plan a few months back, that would imply they're going to come out around the same time, which I think strongly suggests that they were at least planning a cross-gen release for this game. But of course, that could have changed. So we'll see. But yeah, I think there's a chance it still comes out for just Switch 1. But I'm leaning towards cross-gen. And even if it's not cross-gen, I think they'll have a Switch 2 update at some point, probably. Rika01 asks me and says, Stellar Blade is looking epic. You agree? I do agree. I'm probably picking up Stellar Blade later this week. It looks hype. I want it, so. LNA Plush Play says, it's also weird that Puro hasn't said anything yet. I don't think Puro has said anything yet because I don't think anything's happening yet, unfortunately. So yeah, I don't think there's a direct this week. I think the April direct rumor is at this point false, sadly. Brolin asks me, I picked Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, but honestly, I don't have true confidence that we have any idea what they're doing for Zelda next. Yeah, it's a tough call. Only Nintendo knows. And even then, they still might not know. They might still be thinking about it. They might still be thinking about it. All right, so I am going to be wrapping up the stream soon. So if there's anything else you want me to cover or talk about within the next 7 minutes, 6.5 minutes, hit me. This is your chance. Hit me now. Send me the whatever it is, the words of your questions and thoughts, and I will respond to them. Shifter Locker here says, pretty sure Andres believes in Switch 1 due to leaks as I thought. What do you mean? What are you referring to? You mean Metroid Prime being not being cross-gen? I literally just said that I'm leaning it in it being cross-gen. So, I mean, it's going to stay as a Switch 1 title. That's not even leaks. We have hard evidence that it's still a Switch 1 title. Yeah. I just think and I don't know what leaks there are for Metroid. Unless you're referring to something else and I'm just not sure what you're referring to. Wait, Duel. Andre, is Doug Bowser a real villain? Could he purposely be screwing over fans and laughing maniacally? I doubt that. I think he's a good guy. I realize your question is a question in jest, but I think he's a good guy. I don't think he has any malintent. But of course, you never know, right? But I think in general, I don't think it's healthy to assume people have malintent when you have no evidence to suggest so. Super Chris asks me, Andres, what are your plans for the future? My plans for the future. Content-wise, I'm just gonna try and focus on, creating good videos relating to Nintendo on a near daily basis. I suspect we're going to get some solid news soon, but we'll see. Outside of that, I mean, I think I've tried a number of new things lately with the channel. I think I'm going to. I put out some experiments, and I'm not saying I'm going to stop experimenting. I'm going to continue, but I'm going to. I think I'm going to I'm gonna hone in a little bit more on what works, and the experiments, they'll happen, but they're gonna be perhaps a little bit more nicely spaced and timed. Outside of that, you guys already know I've been going to the gym regularly. Like, so, I'm just exercising, trying to improve my physical health and fitness. Yeah. So my goal is to just try and run the channel as well as possible. Improve my physical form, I guess. As we progress towards what's to come in the future. Outside of that, my brother's wedding is coming up in July. That's gonna be a good time. It's actually, we're doing like a destination wedding. It's gonna be in Punta Cana, so that's gonna be fun. And we're gonna go for like almost a week, and so a whole bunch of people are coming. It'll be cool. Beyond that, I mean, I'm not gonna talk about my world domination plans because that's a years away. So I'm not, I'm gonna keep that a secret for now. But yeah, nothing too mind-blowingly crazy. Michael Ospiksuk. I hope I got your name right, but if I didn't, I apologize. Andres, what percentage chance do you think Metroid Prime 4 will be out before Christmas? 39.6% chance. No, I'm raising it. 41.8. 41.8. Netweed09, you do put a lot of thought into your videos, Andres. Don't mind the detractors. In the end, we're all mainly guessing. That's all fun while this whole saga times pans out. I appreciate that. Thank you, Netweed. I will continue to do my best. Thank you. Nintendo Scholar, what if you could shrink as Samus? Shrink and grow. Man. You'd be able to fit into a lot of small holes. But also tower over many people and win basketball games. Django, have you ever tried the Nier series, Andres? Nier Replicant and Nier Automata? I actually have Nier Automata on my PlayStation. I played it a little bit. For whatever reason, I didn't continue. I feel like I probably should, because, if I'm intrigued by Stellar Blade, right? If I like Bayonetta, I don't see why I wouldn't like Nier Automata. I didn't dislike it. I just, for whatever reason, didn't continue it. But I'll probably go back to it at some point. And Nintendo Scholar, golf mode on Metroid Prime 4. Yeah, I saw the Game Explain prank for April Fools. That was funny. Velociraptor Ghost adds me. Do you think Pyoro is gone? No, I do not think Pyoro is gone. In fact, we actually heard from Pyoro very recently, right before the Indie World. He just said he doesn't know anything about it, or nothing that he thought was worth mentioning. So that was it. So Pyoro's not gone. We heard from Pyoro quite recently. So that's it. Thomas Cook asked me, do you think we're getting a direct this week? I sadly don't anymore. I haven't for a few weeks, actually. Well, maybe a few weeks is an exaggeration. I mean, yeah. I kind of came into April thinking that there would be a direct. Not 100. Just kind of like, yeah, I'm like, 60-40. Now it's 10 or 298. Like, there's a chance that something happens this week, but if Pyoro hasn't said anything, I haven't heard anything from anyone. I don't think it's happening. I don't think anything's happening in April, but I don't know. I mean, today's Monday. Maybe things change immediately tomorrow, right? But I wouldn't be prepared for that. Well, according to Jeff Grubb, Metroid Prime 4 marketing is supposed to be happening in May, but what I think is going down is that those plans have been delayed, which goes back to my thinking of Prime 4, also not coming out this year, but being saved for next year with Switch 2. Captain Doge, for a visor idea for Samus and Prime 4, an idea I had was a back and future visor. Think Tears of the Kingdom's Rewind, but without Samus actually being able to rewind, you could be able to see back in time of an object or in the future of it. This could work in combat too, with say super quick moving enemies to help lead your shots and have a better accuracy. Like, yeah, I see what you're saying. So let's say like you almost see kind of like you see projections of an enemy's movements where it's gonna be, so you can predict where. So you don't even have to predict because it tells you where they're gonna go before they're there, so you can prepare for it. That's an interesting idea. Might get a little hard if there's a lot more enemies on screen, but I do really like the idea. And yeah, it could go beyond combat. It could be for gameplay as well, right? If you need to predict where something is or where it was, you can use that visor for puzzles. Totally, definitely, and it would feel somewhat like Recall, which would be cool, very much. Thomas, I will say this, going back to the direct thing. While at this point, I think it's unlikely we get a general in the typical time based off the April rumor. We could have a random game specific direct. That's one of the reasons why I suggested, what if we get like a Metroid direct the other day? That was me just throwing out a hypothetical, a what if. But I also think that, like there could be a Metroid direct, right? If there's a plan for Metroid marketing to start in May, then, well, why would they start marketing it in May? Maybe because they started off with a direct. And it's because Metroid Prime 4 could be the big release for the year. And so they give it kind of like this showcase and spotlight. Like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Beyond that, like, if we think about I don't think you can do a direct for Thousand Year Door, Luigi's Mansion 2. They're remakes and remasters. Endless Ocean, it's kind of a small game, so I don't think so. Man, Endless Ocean comes out soon. It comes out next week. It's crazy. Kind of running out of time for there to be a direct. I mean, what's wild is that I think we just have to wait longer for a direct. I hope I'm wrong, though, because I want one sooner, obviously. But we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Anyways, I think that reaches a good point for the evening. Well, I see some interesting things. I'll just look more things in the chat. The MF52 says, yeah, I think the Switch 2 delay probably shifted it, or it's in reference to Metroid Prime. That's kind of what I've been thinking. Velociraptor Ghost asked me, do you think the next Zelda game will be better than Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? Yes, I do. I kind of always think they're going to one-up themselves. But the thing is, I would say Tears of the Kingdom is objectively a better game than Breath of the Wild. But people don't feel that way because it doesn't feel as fresh. The next game, I think, objectively will be better than Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But not just because they've been continually advancing from a gameplay perspective, but also because they have far better technology to help them out. And it's going to be fresh. It's going to be a new thing. So it's going to feel fresh. It's going to have better technology. It's going to have even more gameplay advances and evolutions. And I think they'll find a way to better marry a lot of classic Zelda tropes and mechanics with the open air style. Then, I feel like if you look at Breath of the Wild, that was quite a tangent from the Zelda series, right? It's not even a tangent; it's a new direction. But Tears of the Kingdom, I think I did a better job of bringing some prior Zelda tropes in and kind of creating a little bit of a better hybrid. And I think the next Zelda game will do an even better job of that. So yes, I do think the next Zelda game, for most Zelda fans and people as a whole, it will be considered better. But everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and some people are going to disagree. And that's just how it's going to be. But I think, yes, ultimately. Django says, I think April's last chance before a direct, before the summertime era direct. It's almost over. I think maybe late June is when we'll get our first direct of the year. Django says, hopefully the Switch to reveal instead. Yeah, it's just, it feels kind of like, how do we get from now to June without any major updates. But maybe we do get a major update. Maybe Nintendo announces Switch 2 now, right, within the next few weeks. And that's kind of like the big thing. They still give us updates on their upcoming games. And then come June, we have something else. Now, I will say, I do think that we may have an announcement for something that's coming out in July. Kind of like how back in the pandemic year, they announced Origami King in May, and it came out in July. So I'm thinking that there's going to be some kind of May announcement for a July game. So that's something else that maybe we could look forward to. Or if they're just not going to have a July game, or they're going to announce it late June for it to come out in July, which would be weird, but it's not impossible, I guess. I just wouldn't predict it. All right, last question. It's hard for me to see it because YouTube this is hard. Okay, I see it now. MDG asks, who is your favorite Zelda character? Mine is a Happy Mask Salesman. They are so awesome. So I'm going to not count Link because that feels like a cop-out answer. So ignoring Link, who is my favorite Zelda character? You know, I'm going to ignore Link, Zelda, and Ganon just because they're the main characters, and I think there's a lot to them. And in truth, my answer is those are my top three, right? But ignoring them in the spirit of kind of having a more interesting answer, my favorite Zelda character, Happy Mask Salesman, is honestly a very cool one because there's such an interesting mystery there. Like, why is he collecting these masks? How did he come up? How did he find the Majora mask? The darkness that's kind of demonstrated there. Like, he has this bright and cheery exterior, but there's clearly something else behind that. And so he's an extremely interesting character. Me thinking about it, Midna comes to mind for me. I'm trying to, I'm thinking it back throughout the different characters. Actually, Rauru is also very interesting to me. Rauru, there's more mystery behind. So Midna I like because she just has a really cool personality to me, right? She's a princess, but she doesn't act like a princess. She's badass, she's powerful, but she's just carrying the weight, the weight of her kingdom on her shoulders. And she doesn't convey that to you until very late into the game. She's willing to sacrifice herself. She's done it multiple times. She's a heroic character, but she has a chip on her shoulder. She's kind of gothy, right? Like, and I dig that. I think that's cool. The thing about Rauru, and the thing is, there's more than one version of Rauru. Like, there's Rauru from Tears of the Kingdom, who I think is a very cool character. But I'm almost more so thinking about Rauru from Ocarina of Time. Because it's not confirmed, but it's heavily implied that Rauru, the Sage of Light that we see in the Temple of Ocarina of Time, is another form for Kapora Gabora, the owl, who guides and watches you throughout your adventure in Ocarina of Time. And so there's an interesting link there, but it's not necessarily totally clear-cut, right? And then I also ask myself with Rauru, like, how did he get there? He's this ancient sage with so much wisdom, but also he's the only sage where there's not a dungeon for. I mean, you could argue there's the seventh sage, but there is a dungeon at the end of the game. It's a little different, but similar. Still, like, there's a mystery behind this character. There's some different possibilities with this character. And the character also gives me the vibes of, like, the old man from the original Zelda, but it's someone else at the same time, or is it? And so there are things about Rauru that I find quite fascinating, and there's some mystery behind them that could perhaps be expanded on in the future. I mean, they literally revisit the name of Rauru with the most recent iteration of Rauru in Tears of the Kingdom, who's also a really cool character, and there is mystery behind the Zonai as well. But I didn't pick him because the mystery of the Zonai is just overall the tribe, not just this one specific person. So yeah, those are some of my favorite characters, but there's a lot of good ones. Having Hope, I feel you there. Mifa, Urbosa, Riju, Sidon, Tulin. I love all of those characters. I think they're really cool. Tulin, it rose up the ranks real quick in Tears of the Kingdom. He did a great job. He's my favorite Rito, I'll tell you that. Impa also should not be slept on. Yeah, she's cool. Pedro also brought up Fi, Groose, Minna, Saria. Yeah, they're all cool. I say Saria, but is it Saria or Saraya? I say Saria. I'm not sure how we should pronounce her name, but she's really cool. She's your childhood friend in Ocarina of Time. She's a Kokiri, in case my pronunciation of the name is so bad that you don't know who I'm referring to. Anyways, I'm going to call it a night now, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate the likes. It was a fun night, and I'll be seeing you really soon. Take care. Have a good one.